Okay, there we go. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Russell Hawley. I'm here to teach you guys some web forms training. I'm going to do a complete overview. I'm going to show you some kind of tips and tricks as well, some of the more advanced stuff. So I'm just going to let you know everything that's at your disposal, and you can pick and choose whichever you'd like to use. So you can see the first slide here. I just have some of my contact information. As I go through, you guys can always ask me questions. Feel free to put in the chat, raise your hand, or just unmute yourself. I'm going to kind of keep it informal. We don't have to you don't have to wait for me to finish anything. You can just interrupt me. I don't really mind. And so, but if you do have any questions afterwards, let's say you don't think of anything right now, my contact information is there, my email, my phone number. If you don't get me on my phone, you can just leave a message, or if you want, probably better to email me. But when I can, I'll answer my phone. But that's all my contact information in there regardless. And so we'll get started. So I wanted to start off with the agenda, just to kind of give you guys a little roadmap of where we're going to go on web forms. So first off, we're going to look at the member dashboard. I'm going to show you how to customize your member dashboard, make it really yours. We're going to go next to the navigation bar. Just on the left-hand side, I'm going to show you you can go on web forms. We're going to go through each one so that you know exactly what's in there, what they contain. And next thing, we're just going to go to the settings. So I'm going to show you the preferences, how to get all that set up beforehand, your email signatures, all that kind of stuff. We're going to look at how to make clauses. We'll look at how to set up teams and sharing groups, because that's huge. And then we're going to look at templates. And then lastly, we'll look at integrations. And then just after that, we're going to actually start creating a transaction. So we're actually going to create a brand new transaction. We're going to use the 5-step wizard. They have a thing called a 5-step wizard in it. It just kind of outlines what you need in order, instead of you kind of guessing which forms and what's next. So we'll show you the wizard. I'll show you without the wizard what it kind of looks like. And then once we're done with that transaction, we have all our forms in there. We're ready to go. I'm going to show you how to send it over to AuthentiSign or DocuSign, whichever app you choose to use. I'll show you how to do that, and we'll actually go through. We'll actually send over those forms to our clients, just so you can see what the clients would see if it went to their email, and then we'll finish that up, and I'll show you what kind of the finished product looks like. So we're going to kind of go through everything. I'm thinking this should probably take about an hour, maybe an hour and a half, depending on questions. And then after we do, I'm going to save some time at the end, just for any more questions you might have thought of just while we're going along. So I'm going to share my screen again to web forms. And so every time you go to log into web forms, you can do it a couple ways. I should probably just let you guys know. The first way you can do it is just on Stratus. If you have Stratus or Matrix, there'll be a quick link right here. They'll be under links. You can click link to web forms. You can also go through RealtorLink if you wanted to get there through RealtorLink. And then Matrix will have that quick link as well. So once you do log into web forms, you're going to get to your member dashboard. So your member dashboard is where you can add widgets such as transaction widget, the template widget, transactions and tasks. So everything's kind of at a glance. You can start things from a glance. You can see create a transaction right from here, create a template right from here, and start signing and so on. And then you're going to notice we have lists. So I have empty. I don't have any transactions going. We're going to create one. And then tasks, I'll explain what tasks are a little bit later. And so mine might look a little bit different from yours for just by default. So to actually customize your own, to add or remove widgets, there's a little padlock here. And then if you click on that, you're going to get all the rest of your widgets. Now you're going to notice I have templates in here. So I've already dragged all them down, but let's say this one's the create contact widget. Let's say I wanted it in my dashboard. You can drag it down. You can just drag it down as a widget. You'll notice that there's blue and then there's green. Blue is anything that's like a single click. Like if you want to upload a document right away or start signing right away, you can just kind of create a single click. The green ones are more for lists. So you'll see we have transactions here in the tasks, but they're for a list. So like all our transactions would show up here, all our tasks would show up here instead of like a quick one. So all you do is just drag it, and you can move it wherever you'd like. You'll notice that these the blue box behind it, just letting you know where it's going to go. So you can choose where you'd like it to go. You can also expand them if you wanted, make them bigger, make them smaller. These lists, they have to be this big one, but you can make them as big as you'd like and small as you like. If you don't want them, just click on remove, and that'll remove it from your dashboard. And then just to make sure when you're done, just click on the padlock when you're done, and that'll lock you in. So that's the dashboard. Now we're going to look at the navigation bar. That's just on the left-hand side. That's just where you're going to go to navigate through web forms. So the best way to do it, especially if you're starting off, is just these three horizontal lines. If you click on those, it's going to display all your options here. Now we're just on our dashboard. Transactions, we're going to get into doing a transaction. This is where you're going to find all your transactions. Below that is all set authenticated. So if you have anything out to get signed right now, it'll show up there. We don't have any right now, but we'll do it in a sec. And then just down below that is forms. So if you guys aren't familiar, these are where you're going to find all your forms for all your transactions you're going to do. And these are all up-to-date forms. So Korea actually sends them in real time to the system so that you have always up-to-date forms. Sometimes people will download them or print them and kind of save them for months or like even years at a time. And then sometimes, they want to do a revision and it's just not the up-to-date form. So I'd always recommend, as soon as you want to start a transaction, always go to your forms, get the up-to-date one. So just going down below, you're going to notice there's a ton of file folders here. Really, you're only going to be looking at a couple. We have blank OREA ones. Those are kind of just branded with OREA. We also have COVID forms. I know a lot of brokerages, they have their own COVID forms, like the COVID disclosure if you're going for a showing. But if for some reason your brokerage doesn't, or you just misplaced it, Korea actually makes their own COVID forms here. So you can use those. You also have FinTrack forms here for you. That's the other one. You'll find all your FinTrack forms. And if you just want to find a normal, Form 100, you'll just go to Durham Region Association Realtors and find our forms here. The main difference about us, let's say you can always, pull up Toronto ones. There we go, the Toronto one. The only real difference is just the branding on it. It's going to have OREA on one side and it's going to have Derar on the other side. If it was, for example, Toronto, it would just have Toronto. So they're pretty much the exact same forms, just a different branding for the association we're with. But just kind of stick true to Derar. We're just going to click on the Durham Region Association of Realtor forms. And we get all our forms. For some reason, it always defaults me to the bottom of the list. So we're going to go to the top. And you're going to notice these are all our forms that we have. That we have about 200 and some odd forms that you can use. So you're going to see all your forms here. Okay, just misclicked there. So you can do a couple things when you're on here. The first thing is just these three vertical dots, the menu. You can preview the form just to see what it looks like. You can also create a brand new form. And so there's a bunch of options there. Create a new form and then start a new transaction with that one form we can do. You can create your own standalone form if you just wanted to use that one form. And then we can actually add this form to an existing transaction. So for right now, I'm not going to do anything with these forms. We're actually going to do a transaction. I'll add all the forms to that transaction. So we're just going to leave this for now, but just let you know what we have available for you. Under new, you can download the form if you want to keep it for later, or you can print it if you wanted to get in-person signing, or just bring the form to your client. Okay, so those are all the forms. And so just going down the list, we have documents underneath that. Documents are things that you've uploaded to the system yourself. So we really only have our forms here that Korea is providing. But if you have, let's say you have your own COVID disclosure forms from your brokerage, you can upload it to WEBForms just to save you some time. When you go to create a transaction, it's going to ask you what forms you want to use, if there's any documents you want to use. So it's a little bit easier. Instead of searching through your computer every single time, just upload it to the actual WEBForms system and you just have it all in one place. So we have our inbox folder. You can use your inbox folder if you'd like. The main one I like to use is my folders. So you can add a folder just from right up here. You can see I've added my COVID folder. If we click on that, it's going to show you what's ever in the folder. So I just have my COVID disclosure PDF form right there. And you can add, that's how you go to add forms or documents into that folder is just by add. So again, my folders, you can create your own folder and then you can add whatever you'd like into that folder. Under my folders is share documents. So I'm going to show you in a little bit, just your teams and sharing. So if anybody's ever shared a document with you guys, you can see them there. And then your transaction folder. So all your transactions, we don't have any right now, but all your transactions are going to show up in that folder as well. Okay, so that's documents. Underneath that is tasks. Tasks are things that you assign yourself. So it doesn't really have any impact. Your client doesn't see it. Nobody else really sees it. It's just tasks for yourself, follow up with Joe on Friday sort of thing. Oh, I just see a chat here. Patricia, I just have to jump off early. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I will do that. Okay. So yeah, tasks are things that, that you just want to keep track of yourself. So again, I need to follow up with Joe by Thursday, whatever. You just have your own task. You can always add a task. You can name it whatever you'd like. You can add a description. If there's a due date, Friday at this time, and you can share this task. So let's say you frequently work with somebody, or somebody's going to be covering for you, and they're going to bring, let's say, a document over to one of the clients. You can add whoever's in your office. That's the available shares. Whoever's in your office, you can add them to here, and so that task gets shared with them. You're going to notice you can notify them if they get assigned this task. Notify all users for this task just to let them know it's there. But yeah, pretty straightforward, just creating tasks that just for your own knowledge. Okay, and then just following down the left-hand side, next thing is faxing. So if you wanted to fax, that's always available in WebForms. And then the last thing, one of the last things is contacts. So right now we have Bob Byer. I have Bob Byer and Suzanne Seller all set up. They have emails in there, and then we've specified what they are. So Bob Byer, coincidentally, is a buyer, and same thing with Suzanne Seller. She's a seller. And so what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you how to add a contact. It's pretty straightforward. There's not too much to it, but what I wanted to show you and what I think is kind of cool is you can actually assign them titles. So Bob Byer's a buyer, you can assign him that, and the system will kind of save you some time by uploading certain things and auto filling in certain things if based on what their title is. So for example, let's say, we have our buyer and seller. Let's say we want to add a lawyer on there. There's a lawyer we frequently use. So I'm going to create add. And so you can create a contact from scratch, or if you use Google Contacts, you can upload from your Google Contacts, but I'm just going to use it from scratch. And it's going to ask me to specify what type they are. So you have all these types of contacts. And so we just have our buyer, we have our seller, but we want our lawyer. And I mean, you have a ton here. You can't make your own, unfortunately. You can have a custom one. But for right now, I'm just going to choose a lawyer. We'll do, their name will be, let's say, Lewis Lawyer. And so those are the only things that are mandatory. I would highly suggest just typing the email there as well. Just because if they are in your contacts, you're probably gonna be sending them something anyway. So just make sure their contact or the email address is in there. And that's all you need to do. That's the general tab. If you want to add some more things, preferred, that sort of thing, their address and all that, you can do that. But all that's required is their first, last name, and what they are. And so Louis the lawyer, we're going to save him as a contact and save him with his email there. And that's pretty straightforward. That's about it for contacts. But you'll see later down the line when we actually create a transaction, why it's so important to set people up as contacts and to specify exactly what they are. Okay, so next thing on the list is setup. So these are your settings. And I want to stop on settings just for a little while, just because there's so much you kind of need to know and kind of set up before you really start using it. You don't need to, but it's a great time to kind of just kind of brand it to yourself and make it look pretty professional. So the first one is preferences. Now there's a couple of things in preferences. The first one is your user information. This is where you're going to go if you ever get a new phone number or if you get a new email or website or anything, just to update it there. So when you're sending things off, has a correct phone number, has a correct email, and all that kind of stuff. And then just make sure to click update. Your office information, that's just letting you know what office you're at. You can't change anything there. And then this is where you're going to go for your email signature and your branding. So this is where we're going to add in your signature. Pretty straightforward. You just update your signature there. And then also your branding. So when you go to send out an email to someone, does it have the banner? Do you want the banner? Do you want them to have a photo? So like a profile photo or a company logo, a brokerage logo, that sort of thing. So this is why I wanted to show you this, just because in preferences, there's some stuff to kind of configure beforehand, just to make it, personalized and branded so your client catches your client's eye. So those are your preferences. Program settings. These are just small settings that you can use for your default view and that sort of thing. There's not too much you have to do here. All the defaults are pretty good. Linked applications, we'll get into that in a sec. Notifications, kind of, what you want it to be notified by. So do you want to be notified if there's tasks, if there's, people are sharing stuff with you and that sort of thing. Not too much in notifications. And then just down below that is clauses. So this is where you're going to go to actually create and manage all your clauses on the system. So you can add clauses into a transaction at any time in the schedule. And in the settings, it's not very kind of out there, but this is where you're going to go to upload your clauses. So you have three types of clauses. You have your personal ones, the ones that you actually make yourself. And so I'll just show you an example of that. You'll see I have an inclusions and exclusions because in my clause, everybody gets a dishwasher included. It's just an example, but to make an actual clause, you can go up to add. If you click on add, you just create a new clause, and it's pretty straightforward. You're going to title it, you're going to name it. So for example, mine's inclusions and exclusions, and you're going to add the content to it. Once you add the content, you can just save it, and then that's your clause done. Boom, done. You can also add dates and times into those. And those are, so now the dates and times are actually, I forget the word is, but they'll actually update whatever date and time it is right now, which is kind of cool. They just updated that. So that's kind of cool. You can add dates and times, and then it's pretty straightforward, just word for word your clause. And then you go ahead and save it. And so you can see I have my inclusion and exclusions, and I'm going to use that in one of our transactions just to show you how to input those clauses. So those are our personal clauses. The next one down is our office clauses. So if our office has ever had any and shared it with us, then they can they'll show up there. I know most offices do. They kind of have a blank clause list, or kind of a default clause list that they'll have for you. So you should see some in there. And then let's say, for example, you don't have a specific clause, or you haven't even thought of it. We have system clauses. So these are clauses that Korea actually makes and provides to you. So if you don't have a specific one, you don't have the legal notes or legal terms to put into a certain clause, and you're okay with the default one, you can actually go into system clauses, and they have all types of folders here with different topics. And so there's clauses for everything in here, and you can just pull it from that just in case, right? Okay, and those are clauses. So again, three types of clauses. You have your personal, the ones you upload, office, the ones your office uploads, and then the system one. So whatever Korea uploads to the system. And if you guys have any questions throughout the way, please feel free to type in the chat or raise your hand, and you can unmute yourselves, or I can answer. Okay, so that's clauses. Type management, we're not really going to worry about that. Checklist manager. So the checklist manager, again, is something just for yourself. So similar to tasks, you can create a checklist. So, let's say, okay, add all forms, that's check one. Next step is sending those off to the client. That's step two. You can actually create a checklist throughout, just to kind of keep you grounded and kind of give you a direction. I see a chat come in here. Amira, can we go over to how to find clauses? Yeah, sure. So we can go over when we get into a transaction, how to actually add those clauses in. Where to find them is you just go into your clauses through here, through your settings and the clauses, and you can see them all there, if that's what you mean. But if not, I'll show you how to add them to an actual transaction or actual form. Okay, so again, pretty straightforward. Checklists are something that you can add. So let's say we just did a test one, just to show you guys. And so we can add checklist items. So again, if there's a task that needs to be done, what needs to be done, and that certain thing. But again, checklist, pretty straightforward. It's just for your knowledge, just so you can kind of keep track of where you're at if you need a little bit of direction setting up a transaction. So that's just under checklist manager. The next one down is transaction templates. And this is huge. WEBForms in Korea, I've gotten a lot. They say, always push people to use the templates. And I agree. Templates are great. They save you a bunch of time. Let's say, what they are essentially is, let's say you're doing a residential transaction, you need, let's say four these forms. You can always use 4 of these forms. You're never not going to use them. You can actually create a template. So when you're making a transaction, you can just feed right off the template. You can just grab the template, and it adds, whatever documents, whatever forms that you normally use. It adds that in all for you, just to save you some time. It's really just a time saver. So transaction templates, you can actually, we're going to make one. So we'll add one. We'll do, let's say we just do one for residential. The type. So it's going to ask you, it's not mandatory, but I like to specify a type. We'll just do a residential sale, and then we'll save that template. And then it's going to ask you what you want to add to this template. So if you had any checklists, you can add them in there. If you had any contacts, for whatever reason, if you want to, you frequently work with somebody and you have a transaction template, you can add them as a contact so that they're always on that transaction. Any documents that you want to add. Let's say we're going to add our copy from documents, inbox folder, or sorry, that was our my folder, our COVID flow folder, and then just our disclosure. So we're going to add our COVID disclosure form, our documents, because we're always going to be using that for whatever transaction we do. And then any forms that we want to add. So this is kind of the big one, any of the forms. For this, I'm going to add what we're going to work on today. So I'm only going to add a couple just to kind of save you some time. You're going to have way more than this. So I'm just going to add the 100, and I'll also add the, just to show you guys, I'll just add, I'll add just code form. I know we have one, but we'll just add another one there. And so we have our forms in there, and then teams and sharing. So we're going to get to teams and sharing in just a sec. But you can actually share this template with a team or with somebody in your office. So once we're happy with our template, we're going to update that, and then we'll get out of it. Okay, sorry, the camera is just in the way here. Okay, so now that we have our template set up, we can look at teams and sharing. So again, like I was kind of just explaining, teams and sharing or a team and share group is a group. So if let's say you frequently work with a realtor or another agent in your office, you're always working with them, your partner, you can actually add them as a group. So if you create a transaction, you can share that transaction with them, and that'll give them, and you can choose what you want. If you want to give them full access, so they can actually create forms, they can add the transaction just in case, let's say for an instance, you're on vacation, you want somebody else to take care of your transaction. By all means, you can do that. You can create a vacation one. You can create one again. I know a lot of people just work with somebody else. There's teams out there, so you can add them as a team. So how you do it is you just click on add. We'll name it. So let's say for this example, we'll just do vacation. So we'll create a vacation team. And once we do that, it's going to ask us who in our office. Remember, it's just agents in your office. And it's not, all of Keller. It's just whoever's in your office, in your single office there. And then you can add anybody you want. So you can add whoever, just for this, I'll just add Shelly. I'll add her. And then it's going to say transactions permissions. So you'll see it has read, write, and full. Read is just, they can just read the transactions. They can look at what's going on, but they can't actually do anything. Write is that they can actually, start writing transactions, that sort of thing. And then full, they can add things to the transaction. So write is kind of just, whatever's in the transaction right now, they can mess with, they can use, they can do whatever they want. And full is they can add things in, they can take things out, whatever they want it to do. So in most cases, it's usually full. So we'll save our vacation team as that. And so it's a great way. Even actually, I just thought of something. We had our templates, our transaction templates, and it'll ask you, do you want to share with a team or group? And so we can actually share it with our vacation team. I know a lot of offices, they'll use actually office transaction templates. So the actual office will provide you guys with transaction templates. Like, let's say, okay, this is a good go-to residential one with checklists and documents and all the transaction forms that you think you're going to need, or your office thinks you're going to need, and they can actually share it with you as a group. So if your brokerage doesn't have that right now, it's something great to implement. Especially, I know admins like to create them so that cause them a little less fuss when they're doing stuff up. But yeah, teams and sharing, it's great, and same with transaction templates. Those are the two I stress the most to use. It just saves you so much time, and then it makes collaboration so much easier just with adding them as a share group. Okay, integrations. There's another side of integrations, but this one's just for top producer if you want to add that in. Any service providers, agreements, and then support. So that's just service providers, that's terms and service, and then support is just going to link you to Korea support. Okay, so the last thing on this navigation bar is just the App Store. And so we have Authentisign built in as our default signing tool, as you can see included. But let's say you use, I know a lot of people like DocuSign or EasySign. If that's what you use, you like it, you're used to it, by all means, you can go ahead and link that. It's going to link you over, make you sign in, and then I'll just actually link it. So when we go into transactions, and I'll show you when we go to send it off to Authentic, it'll give you the option you want to send it to Authentic, or if you have DocuSign set up, do you want to send it to DocuSign, whatever you want it to do. So you can link any of these. If you have any others that aren't on the list, unfortunately, these are only ones we can link for right now. But I remember we only had DocuSign at one point, so they've added all these, which is good. I'm sure they'll continue doing that. So that's our e-signature, our transaction management. We only have one in case you wanted to link your next one if you have an account for your transaction management. But yeah, that's about it. So now we're going to get into actually creating a transaction. And then once we create a transaction, we're going to send it off to our client, have them sign it. And we're going to go through the whole process. I'll show you what they're going to get in their email and that sort of thing. Okay, there we go. Oh, sorry, just lagged there for me. Okay, perfect. So transactions. So you can always go to transactions here. You can click on the little button if you want on the actual homepage. But to find all your transactions, it's going to be under this tab. So any existing ones you'll have already there. We don't have any yet. We'll just make a new one. But if you want to make a new one, you can click on add, little plus symbol at the very top. And it's going to be creating a brand new transaction. So it's going to ask you to name it. Let's say we name it, we'll just do residential. Let's just do residential. Just keep it easy. We can add our template in if we'd like our template. I'm going to use that. I'm going to use our residential template. Just below that, we have our import data. So import data, you can actually, I guess, if you were listing it, you wouldn't have it, but you can import the data. Let's say you're writing up an offer for a buy. You can import the data from our actual MLS system just to save you some time. Again, import data from Durham. What is it? It's a freehold, and then the MLS number. So I have one here just to show you what it looks like. And then add me as who. So cooperating salesperson, listing, or neither. We're just going to do cooperating just because it kind of knows if you're importing data, the listing's already on there. And then once we're done, we can choose to use the wizard or we can not. The wizard is a great kind of step-by-step tool, especially if you're new, to kind of let you know, okay, this step we need to do this, then this step we do this. If we don't use the wizard, it's just going to kind of have it as a blank slate and you can do whatever you like. But for the wizard, I'm just going to show you what that looks like, just to kind of keep some direction here. So we're going to go ahead and create that transaction. It might take a little while, a couple seconds, just because it's trying to pull that data over and pull all of our documents over from our template. But once we do have it up, you're going to notice that since we added the listing MLS number, we're already going to populate the address. We'll populate the seller. If we didn't import this, literally the only difference is going to be these will just all be blank. So it's nothing crazy. If you don't import the MLS data, don't worry about it. It's just going to take you some extra time just to fill these in, but that's the only difference, just these fields. So it's going to autofill, it knows it's a sale, it knows that's all the information, what the transaction status is, if it's open, closed, it's going to know that, and it's going to know the list price and all that kind of stuff. So again, this is the wizard. So you're going to notice on the right-hand side, if you ever get out of it and it just displays kind of a dashboard here, you can always click on wizard. So let's say we did details, or sorry, let's go to our dashboard. So if you go out of this transaction and you come back, you're going to get to this dashboard and you're probably wondering why the hell is all this stuff here and where am I going to go to actually continue on my dashboard. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to wizard, and that's just going to bring you back to the wizard. And so all your information is filled out there. That's step one of the details. The next step is the transaction dates. Those will all most likely fill out, but just always double check them, make sure they're in there correctly. And if you need to add any other ones, by all means, you can do that. That's step two. Step three, you're gonna be adding in your contacts. So I'm gonna actually remove all these contacts because we'll send out something. I don't want everybody getting them. This might take a couple seconds here. And then we're just going to go ahead and add the ones that we've added, the sellers that we have. I'm going to delete that as well. Just do our. Okay, So we go ahead and add our contacts. So you can create a new transaction contact. So a brand new contact just for this transaction. You can add existing contacts. That's what we're gonna do, or we can add ourselves. So first, I'm just gonna add myself just so I'm on there, and then we're gonna add our existing contacts. So we have our Bob Buyer, we have Suzanne Seller, and we have Lewis Lawyer. So we're gonna add them one by one. Our lawyer, and then Suzanne. There we go. Okay, perfect. So once you have all your contacts in there and you like the look of it, click on next. And then it'll have your forms. So if you didn't have the template set up, if you didn't pull from the template, this would just be blank. And then you can go ahead and just add your forms, click on add. It's going to bring them all up how you're in forms. You can choose whatever you'd like. So that's the only difference. If you don't bring over your template, it just won't have anything there. But since we chose our template, we'll have our form, just our form 100, and then our COVID statement of consent. And then we'll click on next once we're okay with all our forms, and we'll get to our documents. And so you're going to see that I had my COVID disclosure form in the template, so that showed up there. But if you want to add any more documents, by all means, you can add it through there. And that's really how easy it is, just to kind of start your transaction, make sure everything is going the way you want it. So I think the big thing that's going to be a lot of time is just it's just inputting. If you don't add in the MLS number, just inputting all that information in initially. That's really where all the time comes. But after that, it's pretty straightforward. You know, you go through your forms and your documents, and then when you're done, you click on done, and that's it. Okay, so now once we're done that, we are going to go to our form. So now that we've created our transaction, we're actually going to go get these signed. So we want to send them off to AuthenticSign to make sure they get signed by our clients. So how we're going to do that is we're going to go to forms. And if we click on both of these, our forms that we want to get signed, we can click on the basket. So make sure to check them off, click on the basket. And then you're going to notice this little pen up here. And that's going to say send to AuthenticSign. So we have some other options. We can download them. We can print them. These forms, as you see here, we can remove them as well from the transaction. But what we want to do in this case is we want to send them off to AuthenticSign so that we can get our clients to sign them. So if we send that off to AuthenticSign, it's going to say Classic. Don't use Classic. It's just a little bit older. It doesn't have all the great features that new AuthenticSign uses, but they're both included. So we'll send to new AuthenticSign. And you're going to notice that this new window will pop up. So this is AuthenticSign. Now we've kind of left WEBForms and we went into AuthenticSign. So you're going to notice that agreement of purchase sale, since we have everybody's information typed up, it's going to actually add them all in there. It's going to have our forms. So we obviously have our agreement of purchase and sale. We have our Schedule A. So this is where I'm going to go to add our clauses. And then we have our COVID consent form here. So first things first, when you go to set up a signing, you have to add participants. So we click on add participants. I'm going to add myself as a participant in case I need to save any or sign anything. I'm going to save that. We're going to add from our transaction or our contacts, we can add another participant. So we'll add. We'll leave Louis the lawyer out. We'll just have Bob Buyer and Suzanne Seller for right now. We can check them off and add them. Excuse me. But you're gonna notice just before you do that, you're gonna have a type. So what they are. So right now they're remote signers. You can also have them as reviewers. So let's say we wanted Louis the lawyer as a reviewer. They can review these documents. Not do any signing or anything, but just if you want to send it off, just to review, make sure it's all good, and then send it back. We can do that. There's also CC. So if you just, wanted them to be CC'd on it, you can do that as well. But most of the time it's going to be a remote signer. And then we'll select that. We have all those. And then now we have all our signers. So you can also set a signing order. So for example, let's say you wanted Bob, let's say you're the co-op and listing brokerage or agent. You can actually have Bob sign first. And then as soon as Bob signs, he's completed it. You can have Suzanne then get the email. Instead of them all getting the email at once, the documents at once. If you want to set a signing order, you can do that just by toggling this on. And so it's going to bring it up over here. I'm just going to move Bob just above myself. I'll move Suzanne up there as well. Suzanne's right. And then once I'm done with that, I can just click that off. Okay, so those are my participants. Those are my signers. Next, just on the right-hand side, you'll see the signers. There's also the docs, the documents. Just to let you know that these are the documents on here. If you ever want to add a new one to the signing, you can add it right here, or you can assign a checklist for yourself. And then down below that is going to be the main tools that we have. So by default, and this is where I wanted to show you actually, you're going to see it'll ask for initials of the buyer, initials of the seller. If you have them set up so when they're signers, Bob Buyer is a buyer and Suzanne Seller is a seller. So it knows, it's smart. It knows that, okay, I need the initials of the buyer. I'm going to pull, this is going to be Bob. So you see BB and then SS. So it's pretty smart that way. That's why adding, you can just add a contact in, just freehand it. But it's always good to kind of save them beforehand, just so you have those buyer and seller initials, just so they can, it's kind of easier on you. Again, it saves you more time, just because it knows. So we have our initials of buyer and seller. You can go down. It knows that these are the fields it needs more initials from. Again, more initials. And then it knows it needs the initials as well as the date here for these. And you'll see it's pretty much all filled out already for you. But for example, let's say, because this isn't an actual form, this is just a document. Let's say, we need a signature here by whoever. I'll show you how to do that. So just underneath, we have tools, and you kind of have all these signer actions. Now for me, I'm not going to do any of these, but let's say Bob as a buyer, we wanted to add this on. So we have a bunch of different ones. They all really act as the same. We have a sign here. So if you click on that, you can see that we have a sign here option, and that'll add in. So when it gets sent over to him, it'll notify him that there's another field needs to sign. So Bob Buyer needs to sign here. And then we can also add in the date, or automatically adds in the date, and we can choose to include that. Or if we wanted, we can just delete it if you don't really care for a date. If you need initials, again, you can use initials, and you can use that. Text line, if you want just to add a little blurb of text there as well. A checkbox, initial pages. So you have all these choices here. And then just down below that, you have the signer fields. So if it's going to be their full name, their email addresses, or those auto dates and auto times I was talking about that they've just added in. And then let's say for some reason, we don't like a certain thing on there. We don't like the way it looks. We can use the markup tool. We can add in a text box again. So you can just kind of add in a text box there. Or you can highlight, or you can line, or you can strike through. Let's say there's a couple words that you don't like, you can strike through. And so really that's pretty much all you're going to need. It's a signature tool at the end of the day. The main thing I would just recommend is always checking to make sure that these fields are actually correct. I mean, you want to trust the system 100%, but there's things that always happen. So I always like to double check, make sure, yeah, these are the only places. I'm not going to need anything else from them on any other areas, just to make sure so they're not sending you back and you're kind of redoing it. But it is pretty smart knowing its own forms on what it kind of needs. So I like to look at this. And just before we move on, just under tools is layouts, I should probably let you know. There's certain layout tools that you can use for forms. I'll let you guys kind of explore that. And then we have any options. So if you want, you have to sign ID, position, and that sort of thing. But again, these are kind of in-depth things that if you guys want to mess around with, by all means, you can look at. But we're kind of looking at, we're looking into the basics, just how to get people to sign it. Okay, so once we're happy, we're done with that. We can actually send this off to our clients to sign. So I'm just going to click on next. Oh, since I don't have any mandatory, I'm just going to delete myself. And same with, actually, Louis, we'll remove Louis actually as well. Just Bob Buyer, Suzanne Seller, just keep it neat. So we'll click on next, and it's going to ask you to finalize your setup. So you can actually send this and have it expire on a certain date, and you can actually send a reminder. So let's say, every day at 9 a.m., you want to remind your clients if they haven't already signed, just to sign just with an email that'll get sent to them. You can also customize your invites, so you can do your signature and all that kind of stuff. But I think they're pretty good. They'll sign it as soon as it comes. So once I'm done with it, I'm just going to click on send. And that's going to bring you back over to your transaction dashboard. I'm just going to open up a separate email here. You should see this come through. And there we go. I hope you guys can see this. Let's see if, okay, no, you can't see it. Okay, so let me share. Okay, there we go. So this is, let's say, you know, this is your client's email. They get it. They're sharing the same email. But anyways, they've gotten it. So this is what they're going to see. So for example, this is to Suzanne. She's going to see this. Again, hello. Myself is inviting you to participate in the signing. The signing name and what form it is. This information was, the invitation was sent to you. So this is where you're going to go if you, where you're looking at your preferences, if you want to update your signature or if you want a header or a footer or anything, you can do that there. So this is what your client's going to get. I just want to show you this just so you know if there's anything that they're having troubles with, or they don't know what it kind of looks like or what they should press. At least you guys will know when you send this off. You'll know exactly where they're looking. So once you're ready, you can click on Start Signing, Accept. And so this is essentially Bob's view of it. Or sorry, Suzanne's view. Suzanne's first. So we have our progress, 0%, 0 of 7 items. And they can review the form. They can look at where they need to mark. And then once they're ready, they can click on the little Start here at the top. And so all they need to do is if they click on it, they can actually add in, and you'll see when I click, it'll add in their initials here. So they really don't have to do anything. They can click, and then for their signature, again, they can just click, and then they're done. So really straightforward, easier for a client. They don't actually have to go and sign everything. Initially, when they do get set up and when they go to do their first signing, I'll ask them if they actually want to use a window like this will pop up and it'll say, do you want to use, freehand? You can actually write it out, or would you just like to use our normal, just kind of a default font kind of thing. So that's really all they have to do is just pick which signature they want. If they'd rather just, upload their own signature, whatever they want, or if they want to keep the default like we have there. And then all they do is click, they don't have to sign for each one, and it's done. So we're going to complete the signing and let them know that they're all done. They can go ahead and print that or download it, whatever they want. If they want to sign up for Authentic Sign as well, and then who it is. So they have your contact information there if they have any questions about their signing. So we have Suzanne done, and we're just going to get Bob done as well. So we'll start signing for Bob. Really easy. There we go. Complete signing. Okay. So again, I'm going to share this other screen with you, show you what it looks like. And so this hasn't been refreshed, but now we're back on the transaction. We're on signings right here, and it's going to let you know if they've completed the signings and who is our participants. So we have Bob and Suzanne. So it's going to say it's sent. Now, if I refresh, it's going to have this as completed. There we go. So 2 of 2 completed. So now it's done. We know it's done. We're good to go. So this was the actual signing tool. We went through the transactions. It's all pretty straightforward. Once you get on there, it just takes a little knowledge because it looks so big. It looks like a massive system. Really what you're doing, you're adding a transaction, you're adding all your forms, your documents, your necessary contacts, you're sending it over to Authentic Sign. And then you're just essentially filling that out where they need to sign. You send it off to them and it's kind of hands-free. It comes back and then everything's kind of done and dusted. Okay, so once you're on your transaction dashboard, you kind of see the detail overview, the documents that you have, the forms, the contacts. If you want to add anything there, you have the dashboard. If you ever want to go back to the wizard for whatever reason, once you're on the transaction, you go to wizards and it's going to go you can go through here. Yeah, so that is essentially what I wanted to show you. The main things too, the more the advanced stuff is just in the setup, just getting your templates done, getting your teams and sharing, setting those up. I know some offices work really well together. They'll have a team sharing group. Well, they'll have it'll just be office share, and they'll have their templates. They'll create templates for all their agents, especially the newer agents. They'll create templates for them and just make sure that they're set up and good to go that way. I just realized the one thing I didn't do was show you actually how to add a clause in. And sorry, Amir, I missed that. So I'm going to go back to our form. Let's say just agreement of purchase and sale. And so this is what would look like if you actually open up just an individual form. We kind of went over just to kind of bulk it together. But if you open up an individual form, this is what it would look like. So we have our file here where you can, open a new one, have a new one, save it, and all kind of stuff. You can watermark it. We have different fonts and colors and styles in case, there's impediments. This is where you're going to go to add your clause to the actual form. So if we add a clause, oh, we don't have our Schedule A in here. Okay, that's what it was. Or we do here, there we go. So our Schedule A, just at the bottom, click on clause, and then we're gonna insert our clause. So we had our personal clause that I made, just the inclusions and exclusions. So really you're gonna include it, you're gonna select it, you're gonna have it in your basket, just click on OK, and it's gonna add it in there. I always get the question of, what if, so there's a bunch of characters here, I'm not sure how many there are, but there's a ton here. What if it exceeds that? So if you actually go through and you fill up all this, once you keep typing, it'll actually add in another whole Schedule A for you. So it'll kind of continue on. So you don't have to go back and add a page. You can actually just kind of continue on from there. So that's how you would add a clause, and that's where you're going to go to find a clause once you have it in there. You can look at all your transaction forms at a glance. If you wanted to, just kind of switch back and forth with them. You can go to the page, zoom. Again, if you want to do anything like a strikeout or line or highlight them or even redact them. And then if you want to just bring this form right into the signing, send this form into the auth sign. So sometimes when you're in a transaction, you already have one form signed. You don't want to add all these other forms. You can just not check it when you're setting those forms off, how we did before. But if you just want to send this one form, you can just send it over to auth sign. If you ever want to add a page. So if you ever want to add another schedule, I believe it's just going to add another schedule in there for you. Right. So we just have our schedule with our clause. If you want to add another one, you just do add page or remove page. And when you like it, save and exit, and that'll save to this transaction. Okay. Okay, so let me just double check, see if I've covered everything. So there's settings, right? There's the App Store, support. So I'm very well versed on WEBForms. I know, pretty much all there is to know. Boost myself up a little bit. Yeah, there's email support here for Korea. There's training webinars. You can sign up for live, any help guides, any actual pre-recorded webinars that they offer. So this is always great to look at, but by all means, like I was saying, I'm pretty well versed in WEBForms. You can always give me a call, send me an email, and I'll let you know, especially if there's anything support, like let's say you can't log in to WEBForms. Let's say just something doesn't work for you. If there's something you don't know, by all means, let me know. But if there's an issue as well, let me know, and I'll sort it out for you. There's also the contact support if you just want to add your name, email, and all your information in there. But that just goes to the support email. So if you just want to email support, by all means, you can do that. And then just below that, that's just log out, and that's pretty much it. So we went through the dashboard, just how to configure your own dashboard. We went through transactions, we went to Authentisign, looked at our forms, looked at adding documents to the system, including any of our tasks, faxing it out, setting up contacts, and then all of our setup options here, including the teams and sharing and the transaction templates. So it looks like we're almost coming up on the hour. So I'm going to open up to a question and answer. If you guys do have any questions, or if I missed anything, if I kind of went too fast, I tried to do a little bit of a full overview, kind of a start to finish, but if there's any more advanced questions or anything else to think of, anything I missed, please let me know. If not, we'll kind of leave it for a couple minutes and then we'll wrap up.
What were the 2 ways to get into the web forms again?
Yeah, so good question. Because this kind of came up, we had a thing where the quick link in Stratus or Matrix, if you use it, wasn't working. So we used Realtor Link as well. So if we open up a new tab, I'm just going to get into Stratus here. Got a little bit of an issue today too. With, you can see here the member trade names. People have their legal name that they sign up with and their trade name. So their actual legal name was showing up, not their trade name, which is kind of big. So that's happening right now. If it's happened to you, that's the reason they're looking at it. So if you log in here, search properties, you can also just use WebForms Let That Sign from right here, just quickly. Or if you use Stratus, it's just down below here. And then the other way is Realtor Link. So a lot of people don't know this way. This was the only way when we kind of encountered that issue that you can get in. If you haven't been into Realtor Link, it's a great place to go. But there's a lot of quick links here. One of them is the WebForms quick link. So if everything else fails, just go to realtorlink.ca right here. WebForms. We have WebForms here, and then WebForms over here. So 3 kind of ways to get in.
Perfect. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, so yeah, we'll leave it for a couple minutes, see if anyone has any questions, and then start to head out.
So question in regards to when creating the templates. Sorry, if you could review the, which was really neat, the 5 easy steps. Remember how when you went through and the wizard?
Yeah, I can go through that again. So let's say we just did this here. So it's always good to know because I get it all the time. It's like, I went on my dashboard and now it looks like this. I need my wizard. Just go up to your wizard right here and I'll bring you over back to it. We'll go back to the very beginning. So if we didn't use our wizard, it'll basically just it won't show any of this. It'll just have this bar right here. It'll just say, so then you kind of know, you'll have to know, okay, I need to set up the details. I need to set up the contacts. But with the wizard, it's so easy. I know people that have even used this system for so long, they'll still use their wizard just because it's all right there. But yeah, we had our listing that we added in. If we didn't, then this would just all be blank. And really, so every step of the way, if you're gonna, let's say, come back to this, you weren't gonna be done with it, just click save and exit, and I'll just save that page. But yeah, so details is first, just kind of all the details that we need. The next ones are transaction dates. So that'll pull right from the MLS system, but if not, you can fill those in. They have additional ones that are not on the MLS system, just in case you want to add that in to let your client know.
That's awesome.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, and then next is your contacts. It's all, they did a great job in kind of making it easy and saving you a lot of time. That's really what they're about, to be honest. Your forms and then your documents, just to let you know each step of the way what you need and the essentials. Like there's a lot of things you can use on your checklist or tax or call logs, that sort of thing. These are just the essential things that you'll need to actually complete it.
And if I may ask one more question. So
yeah,
I generally DocuSign. So when adding, when you finish with all the forms and you want to have them signed over, it seemed that you could add more than one. There was DocuSign, there was the next one, there was a whole bunch.
Yeah. So instead of you sending it, so when we were on the transaction, I had it and it was like send to signature. It'll actually give the option to send to DocuSign, or if you're sending when we had that form up, we had at the top that little pen, and you can actually click on and it would send it over. So that'll give you the option to send to DocuSign if you have it linked. So if you click on link, it's just going to link you over to their login page.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, I know a lot of people love DocuSign. They use it. Authenticsign is, yeah. Authenticsign it's included. It's free, but sometimes you just need a little bit more. Good question though. And so I'll kind of make note right now, just while we're kind of wrapping up. If you guys did want the recording, I know sometimes it can go by pretty quick, but if you wanted a recording, if you want to just type it in the chat, I will send it over to you.
Yeah, I'll take one.
Okay, perfect. Rafael, for sure. And I know when I started, web forms looked like some big thing. There's so much to it, but really once you get down to it, when you start using it, essentially it's just grabbing your forms and sending it off to get signed. It's, and they do a lot of steps along the way to kind of ease that in. Oh, Roger, I see. Yeah, I'll send you the recording as well. But yeah, definitely a learning curve. It's going to be, especially if you've never used signing tools, you're not used to it. But yeah, for sure, it's a learning curve that will quickly overstep. Roger, okay, gotcha. And Sherry Oakley, for sure.
Yeah, I think what was cool was the folders, like creating a folder with the forms that you're using a day-to-day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah,
like on time, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like documents. I know some people, like, you can sift through your documents on a computer, but why not just have it on the system all at once? And your office can share documents with you. So that's great. Yeah. Okay, so we'll give that another minute or so, just to about 2 o'clock, and then we'll wrap up. Dylan, yeah, for sure. I guess I'll send this over to Sue Moratz as well, just in case she wants to send it to anybody else. Okay, looks like we're good. Well, thanks everyone for joining. I appreciate everyone kind of jumping in, asking questions. Makes it a lot easier. And I hope you guys learned something, and I'll send you over those recordings. Other than that, everyone have a great day, and we'll chat soon.
Thanks, man.
Thanks.